everywhere, GBS.
A very good evening and thank you for joining GBS News at 9. My name is Stephen George and our sign language interpreter tonight is Paul Madenge. And now, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, Wiper Party leader Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka and Eugene Wamalwa today attended Kibaki's memorial lecture and luncheon in Nyeri jointly. Gachagua, who is an adamant opponent to Ruto's administration, never failed to inject his usual medicine for Ruto's administration.
Don't tell us about economic growth. Don't tell us about economic survey. Don't tell us the economy has improved from this percentage to this percentage. We want to feel the growth the way we felt it when Kibaki was president.
The memorial luncheon of the Kenya's third president, Emilio Mwai Kibaki, which was attended by the opposition leaders, was filled with the political atmosphere, and leaders who took to the podium used the opportunity to crack the whip on President Ruto's administration.
So we want to ask our brothers now in government to know that Kenyans are not complaining about overtaxation because they don't want to pay tax. They have a problem of paying taxes that are misappropriated, that are not used appropriately. And Mwai Kibaki is a living testimony that Kenyans are willing to pay taxes.
The 10th Vice President, Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, also could not spare President William Ruto as he accused him for allowing the police to brutally treat Butere Girls High School, who had staged a play by the name Echoes of War, which poetically portrayed the dark instances which have occurred in Ruto's administration.
Kenya and the world witnessed the most unfortunate assault on democracy when security agents, acting on orders from above, lobbed tear gas at young students of Butere Girls High School and members of the press at the National Drama Festival in Nakuru. It is an act of criminality against basic values of common decency. It is a direct assault to our democracy and rights of Kenyans as enshrined in our Constitution. And Article 33 of our Constitution, which was given to us as a heritage by President Kibaki, every person has the right to freedom of expression, a right that includes the guarantee for the Butere girls to perform their play without fear or intimidation. The artistic expression is protected under the law.
The wrath of the opposition always kept on reminding them of Kibaki's time, as all leaders who took to the stage applauded the third president of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Emilio Mwai Kibaki.
Yesterday I was in Nakuru as a lawyer acting for Butere Girls. We are not talking about the Gen Z. This is the Gen Alpha. Kids, children being tear gassed, being injured, being denied one of the most fundamental freedoms in that constitution, freedom of expression. A child should be allowed to express themselves freely, not as a favor from the state, but it is a constitutional protection of our children.
Moving on swiftly, an engine malfunction was the cause of the helicopter crash that killed CDF General Francis Ogola and 9 other Kenya Defense Forces personnel on the 18th of April 2024. This was confirmed today by an investigation conducted by the Ministry of Defense. According to findings by the Board of Inquiry comprising MOD technical experts and Kenya Air Force aviation investigators, the Kenya Air Force Hui helicopter KAF 1501 suffered a catastrophic engine compressor stall, commonly known as a surge, shortly after taking off from Chison in West Pokot County. The engine failure led to a complete loss of power, triggering a series of events that included a sudden left yaw. Now, a significant drop in engine RPM, the activation of a low RPM audio audio alarm and changes in engine noise details corroborated by both witness testimonies and accident scene reconstruction. Following the malfunction, the pilots attempted to steer the aircraft towards a clear landing area. However, they lost positive control of the helicopter, resulting in the crash at Sinda Village, Kaben sub-location, Tot Division, Elgeyo Marakwet County. Two Laikipia members of parliament are demanding swift action in a murder case that has remained unresolved for over a decade. Agnes Wanjiru, a Kenyan woman, was allegedly killed by a British soldier 13 years ago, and her family is still waiting for justice. Speaking during the launch of a water pan improvement program in Laikipia North constituency, women representative Jen Kagiri and member of parliament Sarah Korere expressed frustration over the prolonged delay in the case. In addition to demanding justice for Wanjiru, the members of parliament highlighted broader concerns about the impact of British military training in the region. Member of Parliament Sarah Korere called for justice for local residents who have suffered due to these exercises, citing damages and disruption in Laikipia North.
Niseme jana kule katika bunge niliongea na nikasema miaka 13 iliyopita kuna msichana wetu anaitwa Agnes Wanjiru wa kule Nanyuki. Aliuliwa na watu wa British Army na mpaka leo kesi yake haijawahi kuisha. Sisi kama viongozi wa Laikipia tunasema hii kesi ni lazima iishe, wa kuhukumiwa ahukumiwe, ili ikiwe somo kwa mtu yeyote ati akiingia Laikipia County. Ni lazima tuheshimu watu wa Laikipia County na tuwatreat kama binadamu, na ni lazima hiyo familia ipate haki yake.
Ya Agnes Wanjiru. Mimi nasema kwa sababu British Army wamekuwa wakifanya training Laikipia North. Na wamefanya dhuluma mingi sana kwa wanawake wa Laikipia North. Na tunataka justice kwa familia ya Agnes Wanjiru. Na zaidi ya hiyo, tunataka pia kusema yale mabomu ambayo yalikuwa yanawashwa huko, imechoma watoto, imefanya nini, waweze kufidiwa ili uhusiano na urafiki wa Kenya na UK iendelee bila.
A Ugandan court on Friday denied bail to leading opposition figure Kizza Besigye and another defendant, with the judge citing the heavy charges they face in the ongoing investigation. Besigye, 68 years old, is a leading opponent of the President Yoweri Museveni, in power for nearly 40 years, and was abducted from Kenya in November to face treason charges at home. The United Nations and rights organizations have expressed growing concern about the suppression of Uganda's opposition in the run-up to presidential elections in 2026. Besigye and long-term party ally Obaid Lutale have been in prison for more than 140 days. Defense lawyer Arias Lukwago questioned why bail was denied when the judge agreed the conditions had been met. The government initially sought to have them tried in a military court, but later abandoned its bid and sent the case to a civilian tribunal. Well, it is time for us to take a short break. Keep your feedback streaming into our social media platform at GBS TV Africa. The SMS line is 2144. We'll be right back.
My name is Tracy Otonde. I'm Miss County Nairobi, and I'm also Miss Embakasi East. Modeling is an art by virtue of the model and by virtue of the designers. That's if we look at modeling in terms of pageantry, you are showcasing yourself. You yourself is a work of art. You're a work of art, and you're showcasing everything that's in you and within you. And by virtue of the designer is because you keep showcasing the attires that they're made for you, and you have to look the part for you to be able to showcase what the designer was picturing. So yeah, modeling is an art.
Welcome to Fun Art class. Today we are going to make a sailboat. First, you fold a triangle, a half. Friends, today we made a sailboat.
A student can transition from other curriculums such as the Kenyan CBC curriculum, the Pearson Edexcel curriculum, and the IB curriculum to the Cambridge curriculum.
Everywhere, GBS.
And welcome back now to international news. Nigeria's oil industry is in the spotlight as President Bola Tinubu takes bold steps to revive a sector critical to the nation's economy. With production at historic lows and fuel prices on the rise, the president has launched sweeping reforms, including a shake-up at the top of the state oil company and a key policy shift aimed at boosting local refining.
Nigeria President Bola Tinubu is pushing bold reforms to rescue the country's struggling oil sector following record low production and falling crude prices triggered by new U.S. tariffs. He recently dismissed 11 top officials at the state oil company NNPC and reaffirmed a key policy allowing local refineries to buy crude oil in Nigerian naira to boost domestic refining and cut dollar dependency. The move comes after a dispute with billionaire Aliko Dangote, whose Lagos refinery posed local fuel sales over dollar payment demands, causing a sharp spike in gasoline prices. By reintroducing naira-based crude oil sales, the government aims to stabilize fuel supply and prices. Tinubu is signaling a fresh start, seeking to rebuild credibility in a sector marred by corruption and inefficiency. Elvin Muyodi, GBS News.
Moving on swiftly, in Tanzania, political tensions are escalating just months ahead of the general elections. Opposition leader Tundu Lissu, a prominent figure in the push for electoral reform, has been charged with treason following his arrest at a public rally. His detention has drawn sharp criticism from human rights groups and sparked fresh concerns over the country's democratic process.
Tanzania's opposition leader Tundu Lissu has been charged with treason after calling for electoral reforms at a public rally ahead of the October general elections. Lissu, chairperson of the Chadema party, was arrested Wednesday night in Mbinga, with police accusing him of incitement. He appeared in court on Thursday in Dar es Salaam, accompanied by his lawyers and party members.
Now, since this court doesn't have the jurisdiction, owing to the fact that the case is supposed to be heard by the High Court, this matter has been mentioned, and since the offence isn't bailable, the chairman of Chadema, Mr. Lissu, has not been granted bail, nor has he said anything regarding the charge.
His arrest has sparked criticism from human rights groups who accuse the government of suppressing opposition voices, a claim officials deny. Lissu previously survived an assassination attempt in 2017. His party has long criticized the lack of the Independent Electoral Commission and lost they say favor the ruling party CCM in power since independence. Elvin Muyodi, GBS News.
Now to Europe. King Charles and Queen Camilla of the United Kingdom today concluded their 4-day state visit to Italy and left for home. The visit aimed at strengthening strong diplomatic ties between the United Kingdom and Italy, and it featured several notable moments. Our very own GBS reporter Victor Odun gives us a brief but detailed account of all the majestic royal family's 4-day state visit to Italy.
This is a true sign that indeed the British monarch is said to leave Rome, Italy, after having concluded a 4-day majestic state tour in the country. The tour, which aimed at strengthening deep diplomatic ties between the two nations, coincided with the royal family's 20th wedding anniversary. In the same token, it featured several notable moments, including a ceremonial welcome to Rome by Italy's President Sergio Mattarella, a historic address to the Italian Parliament, and a glamorous state banquet at the Quirinal Palace, paying a courtesy call to Italy's Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni. The pause in front of Rome's Colosseum, laying a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier, enjoying a captivating Shakespeare performance at Matotoyo, and finally visiting the tomb of Dante. Have a look.
Above all, it is a signal honor to have been asked to speak to you all this afternoon. The first time that a British sovereign has addressed the entire Italian Parliament, this fundamental democratic institution. Italy is, as I hope you know, a country very dear to my heart and that of the Queen.
Onori a Sua Maestà, il Re del Regno Unito di Gran Bretagna e Irlanda del Nord.
A Cipro e in altre terre cristiane e pagane devo essere messo da parte per questo campione.
Compiled by GBS reporter Victor Udun.
Officials in Santo Domingo are still struggling to identify the victims of Tuesday night's catastrophic nightclub roof collapse as the death toll rises to 221 with hundreds more injured. The tragedy at the iconic Jet Set Club has left families searching for answers and a nation in mourning. As recovery efforts continue, tributes are pouring in for the lives lost, including beloved merengue singer Ruby Perez and former MLB star Octavio Dotel, as Dominicans gather to honor their memories in the face of the overwhelming grief.
Officials are struggling to identify the victims of the tragedy in Santo Domingo, where the roof of the iconic jet-set nightclub collapsed on Tuesday. The confirmed death toll has now surged to 221, with hundreds more injured. Outside the city morgue, desperate families have gathered for days, hoping to identify their loved ones as officials describe the physical features of the deceased to aid the process. Among the confirmed victims is Octavio Dotel, a former Major League Baseball pitcher who won a World Series with the St. Louis Cardinals. He was 51 and had returned to his native Dominican Republic to attend the concert. Also among the dead was renowned merengue singer Ruby, who was performing when the roof collapsed. His death has deeply shaken the nation's music community, with thousands gathered at the Eduardo Brito National Theatre to honor his legacy with a public tribute, attended by fans, artists, and cultural leaders. As investigations into the cause of the collapse continue, the Dominican Republic faces a period of profound grief, not only for the staggering number of lives lost, but for the cultural icons taken too soon. Treason, GBS News.
Well, it is time for us to take a short break. Keep your feedback streaming into our social media platform at GBS TV Africa. We'll be right back.
So today's topic is Rising Stars, young people who create, influence, and inspire. So
on an honest note, creating is hard work, and there are people who I see their work and they are constantly pushing themselves. Like wanajipush, kujipush, like they are putting creativity up top over there.
I think no one also prepares you for the fact that the better you become.
Your networking is also very good. You see, there are people who have passion for, you know, videography, creating videos, editing. There are people passionate about that. If you are someone who talks and you meet people and you love people, you'll definitely meet someone who's just waiting to shoot you.
But also in terms of what I put out, it goes back to what are your values? What are your values? What are your beliefs? So as much as this is trending, yes, that is trending. Does it align with your values? Does it align with your beliefs?
You can be a star without the star position. Si lazima ukue hapo mbele ya watu. Si lazima wewe ndo ukue star, ndo ukue star. Hata ukiwa hapa chini, wewe bado ni star. And as she has said, discipline is a big thing.
Anza wiki yako kwa njia sahihi kwa GBS Jumatatu.
Niko nawe hadi mida ya saa 4 asubuhi. Kwanza niseme asante kwa kuzidi kufuatilia na kutazama vipindi vyetu ambavyo huwa tunakuandalia hapa ndani ya GBS TV Jumatatu. People are now seeing the money that have been given to church as a bribe.
Jiunge nasi kila Jumatatu asubuhi kuanzia saa 1:30.
Nimesikia mwenzangu akifanya hesabu hapo ya vile ambavyo miungano zitakuwa. Ruto is going to fail whether with Raila or without Raila.
Kuna mahali anakosea akisema ati Raila na Ruto wataungana. Hakuna kuungana iko hapo, ndugu yangu, aje nikwambie ukweli.
Hadithi za kunoga.
Ukiangalia Wakenya, wananchi wa Kenya, pia hao maisha yao imedhulumiwa kwa kuongezwa kwa taxes, ziko very high taxes. So the statement by Rigathi Gachagua is just statement ya kumcheck that we can see you we can see between the lines.
Na mazungumzo yenye nguvu ya kukuletea utulivu kwa wiki yako.
Ati Raila ataingia UDA.
Hiyo ndoto mimi yote nasema hawezi, sababu nasema hivi mheshimiwa, ikiwa Raila
itakuwa, mimi naona itakuwa
hadi saa 4 za asubuhi kwa majadiliano ya kusisimua.
Mheshimiwa Rais William Samoei Ruto ajue ya kwamba sasa yeye ni president wa Kenya. Sio mambo ya kufanyia wana Kenya mzaha. Kupoteza biashara kwa siku moja katika CPD, nafikiria ni jambo ambalo ni rahisi.
Usikose, ingia kwenye GBS TV. Anza Jumatatu yako kwa kusudi.
If the government does not spend, my brother, hakuna maendeleo inaonekana, hakuna barabara zinatengenezwa, hakuna dawa kwa hospitali, my friend, economies will not grow.
Tuonane panapo majaliwa yake Mwenyezi Mungu.
GBS Jumatatu, palipo mjadala wa leo na mwelekeo wa kesho.
Everywhere, GBS.
And welcome back. Now, still into international news. A U.S. immigration judge is expected to decide whether Mohammed Khalil, a Palestinian student activist from Columbia University, will be deported or not. He was arrested last month in New York and is currently held in a Louisiana detention center. Khalil's case has sparked national debate as his legal team argues that his removal will punish constitutional protected speech. The outcome could set a powerful precedent in the wider push by the Trump administration to target foreign students engaged in pro-Palestinian activism. Here is more on the scene.
Mahmoud Khalil, a lawful U.S. permanent resident who was born in a Palestinian refugee camp in Syria, became a prominent voice in student-led protests at Columbia University. The protests, critical of U.S. support for Israel, have drawn sharp political backlash. Marco Rubio recommended Khalil's deportation, citing foreign policy concerns under the 1952 Immigration and Nationality Act, even though Khalil has not been charged with any crime. His attorneys contend that the government is silencing dissent by equating criticism of Israeli assault on Gaza with anti-Semitism. The death toll in Gaza has now surpassed 50,800 Palestinians. Khalil is a lawful resident in the U.S. with a green card. The green card gives foreigners the privilege to live and work in the U.S. Today's ruling will either clear Khalil of all charges or move him closer to removal, despite mounting legal challenges that includes a federal case questioning the constitutionality of his detention. The implications are far-reaching, with civil liberty groups warning that Khalil's case reflects a dangerous erosion of First Amendment protections. As the judge prepares to rule, many see the outcome not just a verdict of one man's fate, but as a reflection of how America handles dissent in a polarized political climate. This is Abdi Hamid Ali, GBS News.
A tragic helicopter crash in New York City Hudson River has claimed the lives of all 6 people aboard, now including 3 children. The Bell 260, which had just taken off for a sightseeing tour, lost control shortly after departure and crashed near Lower Manhattan. Emergency responders quickly arrived at the scene, but despite their efforts, none of the victims survived.
A tragic helicopter crash in New York City has left 6 people dead, including 3 children. The accident occurred on Thursday afternoon when a tour helicopter plunged into the Hudson River. New York City Mayor Eric Adams confirmed the fatalities, stating that all 6 individuals on board were killed. Among the victims were a family visiting from Spain and the pilot of the aircraft.
The pilot and the families visiting from Spain, with our preliminary information as at this time. Members of the FDNY and NYPD harbor units arrived at the scene, and divers from both agencies entered the water. At this time, all 6 victims have been removed from the water, and sadly, all 6 victims have been pronounced deceased.
Authorities said the helicopter, identified as Bell 206, departed around 3 p.m. on a routine sightseeing tour. Shortly after takeoff, the aircraft lost control and crashed into the river, landing upside down in the water. Emergency responders arrived at the scene with divers carrying out rescue efforts. Despite immediate attempts to resuscitate the victims, 4 were pronounced dead at the scene, while the other 2 later succumbed from their injuries.
Immediate life-saving measures were undertaken on the vessels at the scene, as well as the adjoining pier. 4 victims were pronounced dead on scene, and 2 more were removed to local area hospitals, where sadly both succumbed to their injuries.
The Federal Aviation Administration and the National Transportation Safety Board have launched a joint investigation to determine what caused the crash. Teresa Tiengo, GBS News.
A notable prisoner exchange has just occurred between the US and Russia, signaling a potential shift in diplomatic relations. A dual Russian-American citizen was released from Russian custody after serving time for donating money to a charity supporting Ukraine. In exchange, a Russian-German national accused of running a global smuggling operation for Russia's military was handed over to Russian authorities. Meanwhile, Russia has captured a small village in northeastern Ukraine close to the Russian border. Here is more on the scene.
Ksenia Karelina, a former ballerina, was arrested in Russia last year and sentenced to 12 years in a penal colony after she donated $51.80 to a US-based charity supporting Ukraine. Her case gained international attention due to her dual citizenship. The exchange, which took place late Thursday night, saw Karelina greeted warmly by her partner, UFC fighter Chris Van Heerden, while Arthur Petrov, who had been detained by Cypriot authorities at the request of the US, was transferred back to Russia. The Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, reacted positively to the prisoner swap, signaling and improved relations with the US.
Politics should be focused on doing something useful, improving the lives of people. I believe this helps build trust, but fully restoring it will take a very long time. It was undermined and destroyed by the Biden administration.
The Russian Ministry of Defense announced the capture of Zhuravka, a small village in the Sumy region, a strategic area close to the Russian border. This region had been a focal point of frequent airstrikes. The battle for control in this northern region of Ukraine has been a prolonged one, with Russia focusing its military operations on pushing back Ukrainian troops and securing territory it lost during the earlier phases of the war. European nations have pledged more than 23 billion euros in military aid to Ukraine this year, surpassing the total amount provided in 2024. EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas confirmed this substantial commitment today, signaling continued support for Ukraine amidst its ongoing conflict with Russia. This growing support marks a critical phase in this war, with the European nations sending a clear message of solidarity while also signaling the importance of long-term stability and resilience in the face of geopolitical uncertainty. This is Abdihamid Ali, GBS News.
Algeria's flag carrier has launched flights to Nigeria's capital in a move expected to boost links between North and West Africa. Abuja becomes the 25th African destination served by Air Algeria. The airline also plans to launch flights to Addis Ababa, Gabon's Libreville, and Chad. It is also eyeing new routes to Europe, North America, and China. Air Algeria's passenger traffic to African destinations grew 76% from slightly over 100,000 passengers in 2014 to 179,000 in 2024, according to the company's stats. Iran has expressed a willingness to approach talks with the U.S. over its nuclear program with an open mind. The announcement came today from Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson, who framed the upcoming discussions as a genuine chance. This comes after U.S. President Donald Trump's unexpected revelation earlier this week that U.S. and Iran would begin direct talks in Oman this Saturday. Abdi Ahmed reports.
This week, tensions between the US and Iran have reached new heights. President Trump announced that the United States and Iran were set to engage in direct negotiations in Oman, focused on Iran's nuclear program. While the talks are set to begin this Saturday, the timing and format of this discussion remains unknown. Iran initially indicated that the talks will be indirect, with Oman playing the role of mediator. But Trump's statement suggested otherwise.
We're having direct talks with Iran, and they've started. It'll go on Saturday. We have a very big meeting, and we'll see what can happen. And I think everybody agrees that doing a deal would be preferable to doing the obvious. And the obvious is not something that I want to be involved with, or frankly, that Israel wants to be involved with. I think if the talks aren't successful with Iran, I think Iran is going to be in great danger. And I hate to say it, great danger, because they can't have a nuclear weapon.
Iran has insisted that it will not be coerced into negotiations and will closely evaluate the U.S. intentions during the talks. Yesterday, the U.S. moved its B-2 bombers, one of the most powerful aircraft that can bomb underground facilities, in the island of Diego Garcia, located in the island of Indian Ocean. It is speculated that the bombs might be used to target Iran's nuclear facilities. However, reports have emerged that Iran plans to move their nuclear energy programs into an undisclosed location as a method of deterring the U.S. from attacking them. Yesterday, Iran expelled UN inspectors from its nuclear facility. U.S. State spokesperson Tammy Bruce has warned Iran for their actions.
Also, expelling IAEA inspectors from Iran would be an escalation and a miscalculation on Iran's part. The United States remains deeply concerned that Iran is amassing a growing stockpile of highly enriched uranium for which there is no credible, peaceful purpose. Iran is the only non-nuclear weapon state producing highly enriched uranium.
Both Iran and the United States have historically maintained a hostile relationship, and a single round of talks is unlikely to resolve decades of distrust and diplomatic rifts. Tomorrow's meeting may forever change the future of Middle Eastern affairs. This is Abdi Hamid Ali, GBS News.
Well, it's time for your most favorite segment of the show, the sports news. Let's get sporty. Kenya is inching closer to unveil a world-class sports facility. President William Ruto expresses confidence in the rapid progress at Nairobi's Talanta Sports City, a 60,000-seater stadium that's quickly taking shape with thousands of workers on site day and night. As the country eyes hosting rights for the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations, this state-of-art facility is at the center of Kenya's bold new vision for sports and infrastructure development.
President William Ruto has expressed satisfaction with the progress in the construction of the world-class Nairobi's Talanta Sports City, which is expected to significantly elevate the country's sports profile. The president said 3,300 workers have been hired at the stadium, with 2,000 working during the day, while 1,300 are engaged at night in the 60,000-seater facility. President Ruto pointed out that investment in physical infrastructure, including affordable housing, modern markets and special economic zones, has so far employed 250 people across the country.
Unajua kuna watu wengine wanasema ati watasimamisha affordable housing, watasimamisha mijengo kama hii, ati watasimamisha markets. ati wataondoa sijui mambo ya fund ambayo inasimamia hii mambo yote, kwa sababu hawaelewi ya kwamba hii miradi ya affordable housing, market, stadium, physical facilities inasaidia kuajiri vijana wengi katika taifa letu la Kenya.
He said the sports facility will be complete before the end of the year in readiness for hosting the Africa Cup of Nations in 2027. The transformative project aims to redefine Kenya's sporting profile, offering an iconic facility and infrastructural upgrade for both the city and the nation.
Mimi nataka niseme asante sana. Mimi nimekuja hapa kuwarai na kuwatia moyo ya kwamba kazi hii mnafanya, munatusaidia kubadilisha Kenya, munatusaidia kujenga taifa letu la Kenya, na mimi niko na nyinyi 100% mbele na nyuma, kushoto na kulia, kwa sababu tunataka twende mbele pamoja.
He said the government was committed to improving sports facilities to offer quality training grounds for the country's sportsmen and women. Treason, GBS News.
FIFA's biggest club tournament is coming to the US this summer, and Philadelphia is one of the host cities. FIFA President Gianni Infantino made a stop in the city on Thursday as part of his tour ahead of the revamped Club World Cup.
FIFA President Gianni Infantino visited Philadelphia for this summer's FIFA Club World Cup. While in town, he toured Lincoln Financial Field and was greeted by Eagles wide receiver AJ Brown, highlighting the city's growing role in global sports. Infantino called the tournament a historic step for world football, bringing together 32 of the top club teams, including Manchester City, Real Madrid, and Chelsea for the first time in a month-long competition.
This year we have a new competition, a new FIFA World Cup, the FIFA Club World Cup, the World Cup of the 32 best club teams in the world, from Manchester City to Real Madrid to Chelsea, many, many more from South America, Africa, Asia, Europe, North America. They will determine with the best players in the world for the first time in history which is the best team in the world.
He noted the symbolism of launching this global event in Philadelphia, a city rich in history and tradition.
And of course, to be in the city where everything started almost 250 years ago here in Philadelphia is a symbol.
FIFA also announced it will grant $1 million to each host city to support local efforts tied to the tournament. The Club World Cup kicks off on June 15th and wraps up in July 13th with the final at the MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. Elvin Muyodi, GBS Sports.
Kylian Mbappe and his legal team have escalated their war against Paris Saint-Germain. The French player has been requesting 55 million euros in unpaid wages and bonus since before leaving the Qatar-owned club and joining Real Madrid last summer. Legal expert Thomas Clay said Mbappe has been authorized to make a precautionary seizure of the money, which has been frozen from PCG's bank accounts on Thursday. A legal hearing is scheduled for May 26th. Now, Verheiden is trying to enlist powerful entities in her bid to claim the unpaid wages, including the French sports minister and UEFA. He also hinted that if PCG are found responsible, that they could lose their license to play in the Champions League, a trophy they have never won. The French league ordered PCG to pay the player last year, but the French Football Federation ruled that Mbappe's request was inadmissible because of an ongoing procedure in a civil court. Well, that was PSG. We apologize for that. Liverpool fans can breathe a sigh of relief after Mohamed Salah signed a new 2-year contract ending months of uncertainty about his future. With his previous deal set to expire this summer, rumors span about a potential move abroad. But the Egyptian star is staying put, committed to the club where he made history.
Mohamed Salah signed a new 2-year contract with Liverpool, ending months of speculation and keeping him at Anfield until 2027. The 32-year-old had been heavily linked with a move to Saudi Arabia, but he's chosen to stay with the club, where he's become a legend. Salah scored 243 goals and 109 assists in 394 games for Liverpool. This season alone, he has scored 32 goals, including 27 in the Premier League, as the Reds chase their 20th league title. Salah said he's enjoying life and football at Liverpool, calling it the best spell of his career. With his future now settled, he's aiming to finish the season strong and help bring more trophies to Anfield. Elvin Muyodi, GBS Sports.
Well, we have come to the end of the news bulletin. It is always a pleasure having you on board. Let's do this again, same time, same channel. We make your news our business. My name is Stephen George, and our sign language interpreter tonight has been Paul Madenge. Good night.
Everywhere, GBS.